apheresis, so it is derived from the Greek term, okay, which means taking away. So it is a process where whole blood is removed from an individual and it is passed through an apparatus that will separate the patient's blood, okay, into a more specific component or into a more specific constituent. So once the desired component is collected, the remainder of the blood will be returned to the patient's circulation. So there are several types of apheresis. So we have the plasmapheresis, that will be the removal of the plasma. Platelet pheresis, that will be the removal of the platelet. Leukapheresis, the removal of the white blood cell. Okay, typically mga granulocytes or lymphocytes. And then we also have the erythrocytopheresis, that will be the removal of the red blood cell. And lastly, the HPC apheresis, which would be the removal of the hematopoietic progenitor cells or the hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, now, before we proceed with the different types of the apheresis, let's move back muna with the history and the development. So actually, itong technology na to originated about 60 years ago when Dr. Edwin Hahn adapted a dairy centrifuge, no, to purify albumin from human plasma. So modern instruments are highly sophisticated using computerized panels and optical sensors to detect interfaces between different blood layers to automate the collection. So there are two separation techniques. Okay, there are two separation techniques. So number one is the centrifugation. So later we will talk about the different methods, but let me just emphasize, no, there are two separation techniques. So number one is centrifugation. So pag sinabi nating centrifugation, it uses density para i-separate yung component. Okay? So there are several types of centrifugation process. So we will discuss later. Meron tayong tinatawag na intermittent flow, okay, which uses a single needle in one arm where blood is processed in batches, and then the other one is continuous flow. So intermittent flow, isang needle lang ang ginagamit. Continuous flow, using two needles for simultaneous withdrawal and return. Tapos, pag sinabi naman natin membrane filtration, which is the second separation technique, this uses hollow fibers or mga flat plates with specific pore sizes para ma-filter out natin yung plasma, no? While holding back yung mga cellular elements. So again, we will discuss it later. Okay, so for the apheresis, no, this can be performed on a donor para ma-collect natin yung specific component. Okay? So again, okay, there are two functional categories. Two functional categories based on the clinical purpose. So ito po yung number one natin. Number one clinical purpose is donor apheresis. So nagko-collect tayo ng blood, okay, para makuha yung specific component, okay, from a donor. Number two, clinical purpose is called therapeutic apheresis. So ang therapeutic apheresis naman, pina-perform natin on a patient to remove, okay, to remove a specific pathologic blood component as part of a medical treatment. So again, there are two clinical purposes kung bakit natin ginagawa ang apheresis. Number one is donor apheresis, and number two, therapeutic apheresis. Are we clear? So, ito yung mga nabanggit natin kanina na iba't ibang terminologies, different types of apheresis. Merong plasmapheresis, platelet pheresis, erythrocytopheresis, leukapheresis, and the HPC, okay, or your hematopoietic stem cell phases. Okay? Next, ito po yung process, no, ng hemapheresis. So pag sinabi natin hemapheresis, okay, this is a specialized type of blood donation where yung whole blood, okay, wini-withdraw natin from a healthy donor or patient. Once na na-withdraw na natin yung blood, the blood will undergo three critical steps. Okay? Removal, separation, and retention. Okay? Retention ng specific desired cellular element or yung plasma or yung component na gusto mo. Okay? So after the target component is collected, yung remaining blood products are recombined and it is returned to the individual's circulation. So look at the diagram here. So kung mapapansin ninyo, yung whole blood, okay, within the apheresis machine, papasok. Naintindihan? So the withdrawal of the whole blood, okay, from the patient's body, pupunta ngayon doon sa apheresis machine. So as you can see, kung sa gitna, sa machine, masiseparate sila. Okay? So, process number 2 is separation. So, you will see the separation of the plasma. As you can see, nasa top layer siya. Bakit? Kasi ang plasma, ang lightest layer ng blood. Kasi this is according to density. Clear? And then, the second layer, after the plasma, the middle layer, yan po yung tinatawag natin na buffy coat. At dyan natin nakikita ang mga platelet at ang leukocyte. And then yung pinakailalim, yung red portion, that's the densest layer, which is your erythrocyte. Understood? And then, pag nakuha na natin yung gusto nating component, the remaining components or the remaining blood products will then be recombined and then will return back to the patient's body. Naiintindihan? Nire-retain natin, iniiwan natin yung gusto nating maiwan, for example, erythrocytes. Tapos yung plasma, yung buffy coat, ibabalik yan sa patient's body. So that is how hemapheresis works. Naiintindihan? Okay. Now, let's move on to the physiology of apheresis. No? So, because the procedure involves removing blood, okay, from the natural closed-loop circulatory system and then you process it and then return parts of it, maraming mga physiological impact ang kailangan nating i-monitor. For example, yung effect ng anticoagulant, yung effect ng fluid shift, yung cellular losses, and also how do we track annual losses, okay? Or yung tinatawag nating safety monitoring. So isa-isahin po natin itong mga impact na to. Okay, let's start with the effect of anticoagulation. Okay, so ang primary anticoagulant na ginagamit natin, the standard, is citrate during the apheresis procedure. Okay, so bakit kakailanganin natin ng anticoagulant? Of course, that's to prevent the blood from clotting while it is outside the body. So syempre, pag kinolect yung blood from the patient's body, para hindi siya mag-clot dun sa machine, kakailanganin natin ng anticoagulant. Okay? So alam naman na natin kung paano gumagana itong anticoagulant na to. Correct? So it works by binding to calcium ions in the blood. So since the calcium is necessary as a cofactor for the coagulation process, in the coagulation cascade, no, its removal will be effective. That will inhibit the blood's ability to clot. Correct? So, when the blood now is returned to the individual, the citrate is reinfused along with it. So syempre kasama po yung calcium na babalik doon sa patient's body. So our body must metabolize this citrate. Okay? If the infusion rate is too fast or the individual's metabolism cannot keep up, there will be a temporary decrease in ionized calcium level in our body. Naiintindihan? So kung hindi natin kayang i-process yung citrate kasi masyadong mabilis yung infusion rate, no? That could possibly lead to citrate toxicity. Again, I repeat, this could result, no, to citrate toxicity. Clear? Next, another impact would be the effect of fluid shift. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng fluid shift? Kasi po, di ba, kapag tinanggal yung blood from the body, okay, and it enters the extracorporeal circuit. So pag sinabi nating extracorporeal circuit, ito yung tubing, ito yung machine, yung apheresis machine. Okay? Mababawasan syempre yung patient's blood. Okay? Of course, mababawasan yung blood volume. Hindi po ba? So there will be intravascular changes. So this volume shift can trigger a drop in our blood pressure. Kaya po nagkakaroon ng hypotension. Okay? Kaya nagkakaroon ng hypotension. So yung response ng katawan natin, ideally, okay, the sympathetic nervous system compensates by increasing our heart rate. So nag-i-increase ang heart rate natin and nagko-constrict yung blood vessel para ma-maintain yung pressure. Okay? I repeat, nagkakaroon tayo ng hypotension. So para magkaroon tayo ng compensation, nag-i-increase yung heart rate at nagko-constrict yung blood vessel para ma-maintain yung pressure natin. Understood? Next, another impact would be, of course, yung mga cellular losses. Okay? Cellular losses. For example, platelet loss in plateletpheresis. So there will be an acute drop. Okay? A single plateletpheresis procedure typically results in an immediate decrease sa platelet donor by about 20 to 29%. Okay? Mas mataas sa mga babae. Okay? So, compared to males. Understood that there is higher drop in female compared to males. So, despite this acute drop, yung katawan ng donor, usually naman na nare-regenerate naman to platelet na to, no, relatively quickly. Which is why healthy donors can donate platelets more frequently compared to whole blood. Then in terms naman of the losses in the granulocyte pheresis, no, the collection of white blood cells, specifically mga granulocyte, okay, there is an average decrease of 7% in hematocrit. There is significant 22% drop, no, in platelet count during granulocyte collection. Okay? So, to effectively harvest granulocyte, gumagamit tayo ng HES. Familiar with HES? Yung hydroxyethyl starch. Bakit? Bakit tayo gumagamit niyan? Okay? That is added to the machine, okay, that acts as a sedimenting agent. Ano yung sedimenting agent? Siya yung nagpupush ng red blood cell down para mas marami tayong white blood cell na makolekt. Understood? Allowing the white blood cells to be easily collected. So pinupush na yung pinakamabigat, which is your red blood cell, so we can efficiently and more easily collect our granulocyte. However, no, the HES is a volume expander. Diniscuss natin previously, right? Some of the observed decrease in cell count is not just from the physical removal, but also, remember this is a volume expander, nadadilute kasi ng HES. Kaya nagdi-decrease yung ibang cell count ng patient. Kasi yung HES, ini-expand niya yung blood volume natin. Okay? Resulting to if you remember in our hematology, di ba meron tayong tinatawag na absolute at relative na anemia. So ito yung example ng relative anemia. Na-dilute yung blood natin kaya nagkaroon ng decrease sa ibang blood cell counts. Understood? Okay. Now, let's talk about the methodology. So, the modern apheresis has evolved into a highly automated process already. So, yung mga instrument na ginagamit natin today are designed for precision and safety. Okay? So, systems feature sophisticated control panels. Okay? They monitor the blood as it separates using light para ma-detect yung interface between different blood layer. Okay? So, alin ba dito yung plasma lang, yung buffy coat lang, yung RBC lang. So, this will ensure that only the target component is diverted papunta dun sa collection bulb. At yung maibabalik, also accurate din, no? For example, RBC lang. So, accurately makukuha natin yung RBC. Tapos the remaining, ibabalik na doon sa donor's body. Okay? So, lahat ng equipment natin dito, including the collection bag, yung needle, yung tube set, lahat disposable dapat. Okay? Sterile at dapat single use para ma-eliminate natin yung risk ng contamination or cross-contamination between donors or patient. Tapos, unlike yung standard na whole blood donation, 10 minutes kasi usually nangyayari yung whole blood donation, no? An apheresis procedure is more intensive, kaya po it takes about 45 to 120 minutes. Depende sa component na i-collect natin. At depende rin yan sa individual's blood flow. Okay? So, at the heart of the methodology, so sabi ko nga sa inyo, centrifugation yung process. Siya yung nagsiseparate ng blood component based sa density or based sa specific gravity. So kapag pinaikot natin yon, yung pinaka-ilalim, ulitin lang natin, red blood cell. Tapos, pinaka-gitna would be the buffy coat that contains the white blood cell and the platelet at the middle. And then yung lightest would be the plasma. Yung makikita natin sa pinaka-taas. Understood? Okay, next. So, because different blood components have different densities and sizes, as we've mentioned, kailangan yung machine ma-adjust siya, okay, ng tama. Okay? So, pwede tayong mag-manipulate ng centrifuge speed. So, higher speed creates more G-force, packing the red blood cells tighter and making the layers more distinct. I repeat, mas mataas ang speed, mas magiging tight yung pagpapak ng mga components. Okay? So, ano naman yung dwell time? Pag sinabi nating dwell time, this refers to how long the blood remains in the centrifuge. Gaano ba katagal magstay yung mga components ng blood natin doon sa machine? Kasi the longer dwell times allow more precise separation, okay, of the components, okay, with similar density. Like for example, white blood cell and platelet. So ibig sabihin, mas mahaba ang dwell time, mas ma-separate natin ng tama, specifically yung mga cells na parehas ng layer. Okay? And then we have the chemical and biological adjustment. Okay, beyond the mechanical setting, yung procedure natin, pwede natin ma-customize based sa biological makeup. katulad halimbawa ng anticoagulant ratio. So, ibig pong sabihin, yung amount ng citrate na idadagdag natin is calculated based sa donor's total blood volume. Okay? And also, based on the flow rate para ma-prevent natin ang clotting without citrate toxicity. Yung sedimenting agent natin, as we've mentioned earlier, the HES, okay, para saan nga ulit ang hydroxyethyl starch, para ma-improve natin yung separation ng white cells from the red cells, specifically the granulocytes. Naiintindihan po ba? Okay, and lastly, you have to set the adjustment based sa total plasma volume at specific cellular content na gusto mong kunin. Okay? So, next, ito yung sinasabi kong methods kanina ng centrifugation. If you remember, I mentioned ang pinakaunang step natin, centrifugation. There are two types, the intermittent as well as the continuous flow. The intermittent flow centrifugation, okay, this method typically uses only one venipuncture site. Okay, one needle in one arm. So, pinaprocess natin yung blood in batches. The machine will perform a cycle of withdrawing the blood, splitting it to separate and collect yung desired component. Tapos, nare-reverse yan to pump to return the remaining blood through the same needle. Understood? So, it is generally more convenient for the donor kasi yung isang arm nila free. However, mas matagal to than continuous method because the machine cannot pull and return the blood at the same time. One cycle completed after another cycle lang. Kaya by batch. Understood? Etong continuous flow centrifugation, okay, this method requires two venipuncture sites. One needle in each arm. Okay? Simultaneous po yung process. Ang ibig sabihin, yung blood wini-withdraw mula sa isang arm, pinaprocess sa machine, and nare-return doon sa kabilang arm at the same time. Okay? Mas mabilis to. Kasi yung flow is constant. No? Okay? The extracorporeal volume, pag sinabi natin extracorporeal volume, yung makikita nating volume ng blood sa machine, mas maliit lang ang makikita nating blood outside the body. Okay? Kasi po, naiibalik agad yung component na hindi kailangan through another arm. Gets po ba yun? So, I repeat, pag intermittent flow, isa lang po. One at a time lang po yan. Kasi isa lang yung arm na may venipuncture. So, kung saan lumabas, dun din ulit papasok. Pero sa continuous flow, since double needle tayo, yung isa is for the instruction and the other one is for the return. Okay? Next. Ito yung second process, yung membrane filtration. So, this is an alternative method to centrifugation for blood component separation. So, kung hindi centrifugation, then you can do membrane filtration. Ang centrifugation nakarely sa density, right? Ito naman, sa filtration, nakarely naman siya sa size ng blood component. Understood? So, the membrane filtration utilizes specialized filter, often in the form of bundle of hollow fibers or flat plate membranes. So, ito pong mga membranes na to are engineered with specific pore sizes. Okay? Para siyang filter, para siyang sieve. Understood? So, the pore size, okay, specifically are adjusted para ma-allow natin yung certain substances to pass through. Tapos binablock yung ibang components. Okay? So in most apheresis application, the pore sizes are small enough para ma-block even yung pinakamaliliit na cellular elements katulad ng platelets para ma-ensure natin na, for example, liquid lang yung plasma lang yung gusto mong kunin. Okay? And then, it solute pass through the membrane. Okay, anong advantages nito over the centrifugation? Okay? Because it uses physical barrier based on the size, maganda to for plasma. Cell-free talaga yung plasma mo. Sigurado talaga tayo na purely liquid component lang ang makukuha natin. Okay? Also, since the separation is based on the size rather than the weight, the process is not affected by variables that might complicate centrifugation, such as, for example, di ba magka-size, magkasama ang platelets at saka ang granulocyte. Similar yung density nila. Makikita natin sila in one layer. So dito hindi yun problema. Okay? And then, the membrane system often are requiring less blood na ilalabas, okay, which reduces the risk of volume-related side effects. So sabi ko nga kanina na babagsak yung blood pressure. Okay? Di ba, usually, dahil tinatanggal natin yung maraming amount ng blood from the patient or from the donor, nag-lead yun sa hypotension. Dito, hindi problema yun. Kasi, very minimal lang yung amount ng blood na nire-remove natin from the body compared to centrifugation. Alright? Next. So, let's move on to the specific component, okay, that are collected. So, na-mention ko na to kanina sa inyo. So, pwedeng ang kunin lang natin plasma, pwedeng yung specific cell lang, like platelet, like RBC, like granulocytes. Okay? So, a specific blood component is obtained that will be transfused to a patient. Collection of each apheresis blood component carries it with a different deferral period. So makikita niya dito sa table sa kanan kung ano-ano yung deferral period or yung frequency dapat ng donation ng bawat type ng pheresis. And sisiguraduhin natin na dapat yung there is a qualified licensed physician responsible yan for all the aspect of the apheresis program. Kailangan din ng written informed consent, okay, from the donor, including lahat ng risk, no, na kasama sa performing ng pheresis. Okay? So, I'll leave the table to you. So, let's proceed to the first type of pheresis, which is the erythrocyte pheresis. So, specifically, ang kinokollect po natin dito, double red cell. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo, 2RBC. Anong ibig sabihin nun? During a single automated session, the machine collects 2 units of red blood cells instead of a single unit. Okay? Instead of a single unit. Di ba usually pag nagko-collect tayo ng whole blood, isang unit lang. Dito, katumbas, 2 agad. Naintindihan? So because the red blood cells are most vital oxygen carrying component of the blood, the physical requirement for 2 RBC donors are stricter compared to other apheresis. Okay? Kailangan ang donor dapat 40% ang hematocrit. Ma-ensure nito they have high enough baseline volume of RBC para mawala yung 2 unit na kukunin natin. Okay? Next, yung donor, no, must meet specific height and weight requirement. Depende yan sa gender. Okay? Para ma-ensure na yung total blood volume is large enough para ma-handle yung mawawalang blood papunta dun sa machine. Okay? And then, while the red blood cells are kept, the donor's plasma and platelets are often returned to them, di ba? Pero kasama nun yung saline para ma-maintain yung intravascular volume at ma-maintain yung blood pressure. Okay? So because red blood cells take significant amount of time for bone marrow to replace, mabagal, di ba? Mag-replace ng RBC ang bone marrow natin, mas mahaba ang deferral period, 16 weeks. Okay? Doble po yan ng deferral period ng standard na whole blood, which is equivalent lang ng 8 weeks. Naiintindihan po? So, kung kukuha tayo ng RBC, tapos plasma or platelet, magiging equivalent na yan sa 56 days. Naiintindihan? Pag dalawang RBC, 16 weeks bago makapag-donate ulit. Kung kukuha ng RBC, plasma, or platelet, that will be equivalent now to 56 days. Okay? Next, let's proceed to your plasmapheresis. So a single plasmapheresis procedure can yield a volume of plasma that is equivalent to at least 2 units of whole blood-derived plasma. Naintindihan? So this makes it highly efficient for stockpiling plasma for transfusion or for manufacturing plasma-derived medicinal product katulad ng albumin or ng mga clotting factors. Okay? So, just as with other apheresis component, collecting more from a single donor reduces the number of different donors a patient is exposed to. So, ibig sabihin, malulower yung risk ng transfusion-transmitted infection. Kasi dalawa agad yung makukuha mo eh. Di ba, sa mga normal na, yung naalala niyo yung FFP, okay? So, usually, nakukuha kasi natin yung FFP, konti lang from a single unit. Kaya minsan pooled. Naalala niyo yung pooled unit ng FFP? So, ibig sabihin, galing sa iba't ibang whole blood. Tapos pinagsama-sama natin yung plasma. Okay? So, ang problema natin sa pooled plasma, pooled na FFP, yung patient may expose siya sa iba't ibang plasma ng iba't ibang donors. Okay? So, mataas ang possibility nun for transfusion-transmitted infection compared kapag nag-plasmapheresis ka. Kasi isa pa lang na plasmapheresis, nag-yield na yan ng nag-yield na yan ng 2, okay? Whole blood-derived plasma unit agad. Naintindihan? Okay, so because plasma contains viral proteins and electrolytes, yung FDA also are setting stricter annual limit on how much a donor can give to prevent long-term health issues. So for example, maximum lang ng 12 liters per year. Okay? Maximum lang ng 12 liters per year. So for donors weighing 175 pounds, okay, 175 pounds, the limit is increased to 14.4 liters per year. So I repeat ha, ang maximum lang na pwedeng i-donate per year na plasma is 12 liters. Kung mas mabigat, more than 175 pounds, yung limit na yan can be up to 14.4. Okay? So, while the goal of the plasmapheresis is collect only the liquid portion of the blood, a tiny amount of red blood cell is inevitably lost sa tubing at saka sa separation. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina sa filtration, yung mga cellular losses. Okay? So, if the donor consistently lost more RBC than the threshold, pwedeng magkaroon ng iron deficiency anemia. Okay? Or anemia. So even if they are not donating red blood cells, no? So as established by the FDA, ang plasma na re-replenish natin yan mas mabilis kumpara sa mga cells. Kaya po ang frequency every 2 days. Okay? Provided they do not exceeded 2 donations in 7-day period. Okay, I repeat, ang donation frequency 2 days, given that there is no, okay, 2 procedures in 7 days. Okay? Next, let's move on to your platelet pheresis. So the primary advantage ng platelet pheresis is the high yield. Okay, high yield. A single apheresis session produces 1 unit of platelet, which is equivalent sa 6 to 8 units ng random donor platelet. So because the patient can receive full therapeutic dose from just one donor instead of 6 to 8 different people, so ganun din, dahil na mas mataas ang yield, hindi na natin kailangan pagsama-samahin yung platelet ng iba't ibang patient, di ba? Katulad sa standard na component separation. So malilimit natin yung risk ng transfusion-transmitted infection. Okay? And also, yung mga HLA or yung mga human leukocyte antigen alloimmunization. Naalala yon? Mas mababa po yun na risk kapag platelet pheresis ang ginawa. So for the recommendation ng for the qualification ng donor, because the platelets are critical for clotting. So strict din ang donor criteria. So ang donor dapat meron siyang pre-donation platelet count of at least 150. Okay, 150 cells per UL yan. So also, dapat hindi nagtitake ng aspirin yung mga donors. Bakit? Kasi yan ay anti-platelet drug. No? Kailangan hindi nag-take within 48 hours. Kasi itong mga drugs na to, permanently, ini-inhibit nila yung platelet function. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung magiging donated unit natin, magiging less effective. Right? So, dapat hindi nagtitake ng aspirin ng 48 hours bago mangyari ang platelet pheresis. Okay? So, para ma-ensure natin yung donor safety, okay, at ma-prevent natin yung excessive fluid loss, the amount of plasma removed as part of the platelet collection should not exceed 500 ml. I repeat, 500 ml. Kung more than 175 pounds, dapat not more than 600 ml. I repeat, kung more than 175 pounds, dapat not more than 600 ml. Sa frequency naman, a donor can give platelet every 2 days, but no more than 24 times in 12 months period. Okay? Or no more than 2 times in 7 days. Clear po yun? Okay? If double or triple pheresis, at least 7 days before maging eligible ulit para mag-donate. Naintindihan? That's for the frequency. Next, let's proceed to your leukapheresis. So, granulocyte transfusion or specialized intervention, no? Typically para ma-reserve natin yung mga life-threatening situations katulad ng neutropenia. So pag sinabi natin neutropenia, mababa yung white blood cell count, specifically the neutrophil. Halimbawa, may fungal or bacterial infection, neutropenic neonates with sepsis. So ano-ano ba yung mga criteria na para magkaroon ng or para makareceive ng granulocyte? Okay? To be effective, to be clinically effective, a significant number of cells must be collected. Okay? So ang therapeutic dose natin is 1 times 10. Okay? Granulocytes per day. So because these cells have very short half-life in our bloodstream, usually naalala ninyo for neutrophil, 7 to 10 hours lang yan. Kailangan ma-transfuse natin as soon as possible after collection. Okay? So meron na namang side effect ang HES, sedimenting agent. Diba? So, bakit nga ulit tayo gumagamit nito? Para mas mataas ang yield, mas madali nating makolek yung granulocyte. Anong side effect? So again, it is a volume expander. So therefore, pwedeng ma-dilute yung blood natin, pwede rin magkaroon ng headache yung patient, or peripheral edema. Okay? Next. So, to collect effective therapeutic dose, yung mga white blood cells ng donor must be temporarily boosted. So, paano natin binoboost? Pwede tayong gumamit ng oral corticosteroid. Okay? That is to mobilize the marginal pool of granulocyte and increase circulating cells. Pwede rin tayong gumamit ng GCSF, more potent cytokine, ginagamit natin para ma-stimulate yung bone marrow na mag-produce at mag-release ng mas maraming granulocyte sa peripheral blood. Okay. Pero, guys, since granulocyte transfusion involve transferring ng mga live immune cell, merong mga risk. Okay? Katulad ng GVHD or the graft versus host disease. Sa mga severely immunocompromised patient, yung donor T cells may recognize the recipient's body as foreign at pwede niyang i-attack yung tissue. So ang solution, i-irradiate natin yung granulocyte product before transfusion para ma-prevent natin yung lymphocyte from dividing, okay, and then naiiwan yung mga granulocyte na functional. And also, dapat mag-perform ng compatibility testing. So, pag sinabi natin compatibility testing, cross-matching. Dapat ABO and RH compatible. Okay? Ito po yung mga additional na donors guideline. So, at least 48 hours ang mag-elapse after ng hemapheresis solution. Yung donor must not exceed more than 2 times a week or 24 times in a year unless otherwise allowed ng physician. So, a donor must be tested kung merong cytopenia, cell decrease, no? If a donor donates whole blood, at least 8 weeks must elapse before he or she can donate for pheresis. Dapat yung extracorporeal blood must not exceed 15% of the donor total blood volume. Ibig sabihin, yung lalabas sa katawan ng patient para sa pheresis, hindi mag-i-exceed ng 15%. So if platelet pheresis is to be performed, a donor must have about, nabanggit na natin ito kanina, 150,000 cells per UL or equivalent to 150 times 10 raised to 9 per liter ng platelet count. And there are possible adverse reaction to your HPS, steroids or heparin. Kailangan itong mga substances na to ma-monitor ng tama during the apheresis procedure. Okay? So ito naman yung therapeutic apheresis. So a pathologic substance exists in blood that contributes to disease process or its symptoms. The substance can be more effectively removed by apheresis than by body's own homeostatic mechanism. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kaya po tayo nagpo-perform ng apheresis therapeutic. So, again ha, pag sinabi natin therapeutic apheresis, ano nga po ulit yun? Nire-remove natin yung specific component. Naintindihan? As part of the therapeutic effect. So, kung hindi kaya ng katawan natin i-remove, tutulungan natin with the use of the therapeutic apheresis. So, dapat, syempre, must adhere to the ASFA guidelines. Okay? So, these are the indication categories for therapeutic apheresis. Category 1, apheresis is standard and acceptable as primary therapy or as the first line adjunct to other initial therapies. Category 2, yung apheresis generally accepted in supportive role or second line. Category 3, yung apheresis not clearly indicated due to insufficient evidence, conflicting results, or no favorable risk to benefit ratio. Category 4, apheresis demonstrated to lack efficacy or to be harmful. So discourage yan for use. So ito yung mga indication categories for therapeutic apheresis. Okay? So next, punta tayo sa further discussion ng therapeutic apheresis. Okay. So for the apheresis, it requires high flow rate. Okay, than a standard small IVs that can be handled, no? So it is usually requiring 16 to 18 gauge ng needles. Okay, 16 to 18 gauge of needles. So ang setup natin, dalawang side, one for pulling and then one for returning. Naalala niyo po yung second na centrifugation step, okay, which is your continuous flow centrifugation. Okay? And then, if the patient has a poor peripheral vein, a central venous catheter should be in place. Okay? It is placed in a large vein like the jugular or the femoral. So, the patient extracorporeal blood volume should be less than 15% lang para ma-minimize natin yung hypovolemia. So kailangan makalculate natin yung patient plasma volume and also mag-consider din dapat yung patient medication. So yung number ng therapeutic procedure performs varies with the disease or kung ano yung disorder ng patient. So bakit gagamit ng blood warmer during the therapeutic apheresis? Kasi po, yung blood is outside the body. Nag-cool down yan sa mga tube ng machine. So, kailangan ma-warm siya before i-return sa katawan ng donor. So, if you return large volume of room temperature blood to a patient, you risk inducing hypothermia. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng hypothermia yung patient kung hindi ka gumamit ng blood warmers. Let us now move on to platelet pheresis. So, for the platelet pheresis, yung therapeutic platelet pheresis, okay, again we're referring to the therapeutic function. If you remember, there are two types or there are two clinical purposes for the apheresis. Okay, so now we are referring to the therapeutic site apheresis. Let's start with the therapeutic platelet pheresis. So this is used to treat thrombocythemia. Okay, so kasi guys, there are certain conditions, katulad ng risk of thrombotic or hemorrhagic complications or use of medications, that can be less effective compared to therapeutic platelet pheresis. So kung hindi natin gagawin to, magiging mas mataas ang risk ng formation ng clot and even hemorrhagic complication. Wala tayong specific guidelines as to the level of platelet count that must be reduced. Hindi katulad doon sa donor apheresis, donor platelet pheresis, di ba may required na dapat number ng platelet ang isang individual bago natin gawin yung donor platelet pheresis, right? Dito naman, wala tayong specific guidelines as to the level of the platelet count, or standardized procedure para ma-reach natin yung particular na target platelet count. Okay? But the equivalent, platelet that is removed, is equivalent to 6 to 10 random platelet concentrates. So pag nag-perform ka ng therapeutic platelet pheresis, nagtatanggal ka ng equivalent na 6 to 10 random platelet concentrate. So ang content nito is 3 times 10 raised to 11 platelet. So ganyan yung actual or absolute count ng tinatanggal natin na platelet pag nag-perform tayo ng therapeutic platelet pheresis. Again, kailan natin ginagawa to? When the patient have abnormally elevated platelet count. So that is more than 1 million cells per UL. And that is usually nangyayari during polycythemia vera. Okay, let's move on to the therapeutic leukapheresis. So this is used to treat patient with hyperleukocytosis. Ito yung definition ng hyperleukocytosis. WBC or the circulating blast count is already more than 100,000 cells per UL. So there is a risk for organ dysfunction from the microthrombi in the pulmonary and cerebral microvasculature. Okay, prediction ng required blood volume is difficult here. Okay, kailangan nating i-monitor yung WBC count kapag nagpo-perform tayo ng therapeutic leukapheresis. Understood? Okay, gumagamit pa rin tayo ng HES. Okay? Para mas madaling ma-extract, mas madaling ma-separate yung granulocyte. Do you remember that? Okay? Next, ito po yung HES. We call it the hydroxyethyl starch. It is a sedimenting agent that is used for granulocyte collection, which causes the red cell to form ROLU. Yan yung sinasabi ko kanina na napupush down yung mga RBC para mas efficiently na ma-harvest natin yung WBC. And also, na-mention na rin natin yung corticosteroid, di po ba? These are administered to the donors 12 to 24 hours before pheresis para mag-increase yung number ng circulating granulocyte by pulling them from the marginal pool. So ang therapeutic indication nito, ginagamit natin to for patients with leukemia, yung may mga blast, especially, okay? So such as the hairy cell leukemia, the AML, the cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. Alright? Next, lymphocytopheresis. So for lymphocytopheresis, we use this as a means of producing immunosuppression, especially sa mga may autoimmune diseases such as rheumatic arthritis, systemic lupus erythematosus, kidney transplant rejection, and autoimmune or alloimmune diseases. So tinatanggal natin yung lymphocyte para maging immunosuppress yung patient. And then we also have the neocytopheresis. So ito po yung transfusion ng young RBC. We call it the neocytes. So ang indication naman nito for young patient with hematologic disorder such as the thalassemia syndromes. Okay? And we also have the therapeutic erythrocytopheresis. Kino-consider natin to as an exchange procedure. The quantity of red cells are predetermined and is removed from the patient and it is replaced with homologous blood. Kadalasan, ginagamit natin to treat sickle cell disease, okay, yung priapism, okay, and impending stroke. So, these are also used for patients with severe parasitic infection, especially from malaria and babesia. So, ang goal natin dito, ma-remove natin yung incompatible RBC mula sa circulation ng pasyente. Understood? So, now, therapeutic plasma pheresis. So, ito naman, bakit tayo nagtatanggal or nagre-remove ng plasma? Okay? Number 1, to remove the offending agent in the plasma that causes symptoms in cases na matataas ang plasma protein, katulad ng tinatawag nating condition na paraproteinemia. So if there are high or elevated amount of plasma proteins, tatanggalin natin si plasma. So this is in cases of multiple myeloma, Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia, and even familial hypercholesterolemia. Okay? Or if you want to collect the rare red and white antibodies. So nasa ng antibodies? Nasa plasma. Beneficial din to sa mga diseases na may malfunction ng immune system. Katulad ng nabanggit natin kanina, SLE and your RA. And also, para ma-replace yung normal factor or substance that may be missing or deficient sa patient's plasma. Okay? So, because of the diminishing effect of the increased plasma removal, it is recommended that approximately 1 to 1.5 plasma volumes may be exchanged per procedure. Okay? That is per procedure. Okay? So, ano po yung ginagamit natin na replacement fluids? So, the replacement fluids used could be NSS, NSA, PPF, or FFP. Yung replacement, necessary yan para ma-maintain pa rin natin yung blood volume ng patient. Understood? And ma-maintain yung blood pressure. Kaya lang, pag gumamit ka ng FFP, may disadvantage yon. Posibleng magkaroon ng disease transmission, ABO incompatibility, even citrate toxicity. Kasi ang FFP, meron po yung citrate na anticoagulant. Okay? Then, pwedeng masensitize yung mga plasma proteins and even yung mga cellular antigens. Therefore, ang FFP is now the recommended replacement fluid. Okay? Primarily, only during plasma exchange for TTP and HUS. Understood? Okay, next. Let's move on to, balik tayo sa component collection. Okay, balik tayo doon sa donor apheresis. So, pag magko-collect naman tayo ng hematopoietic growth factor. This is also referred as stem cell collection. So it is a modern shift from the traditional bone marrow harvest. Kasi kapag gumawa po tayo ng, or ginawa natin yung bone marrow surgery, no? Magre-require pa siya, or bone marrow retrieval or bone marrow harvest, magre-require ng surgery. Right? Kaya po, ang replacement niyan na procedure is called the HPC or the hematopoietic stem cell collection. So ano po ba yung mga hematopoietic growth factor? Review lang ulit natin. So ito yung mga stem cell na makikita natin sa bone marrow. It is rarely found in our bloodstream, no? Para makollect sila using apheresis machine, kailangan muna natin silang papuntahin sa peripheral blood. Kailangan natin silang immobilize. Kasi nasa bone marrow sila eh. We need to mobilize them from the bone marrow to the peripheral blood. So ang ginagawa natin to do that is donors are given with HGF. Ano po ba yung mga HGF? Okay? Most common would be the GCSF. Hematopoietic growth factor po ito ha, hematopoietic growth factor. So binibigyan natin, common ang ginagamit ay GCSF. So this is for several days. Hindi binibigay siya several days before the procedure. So ang mechanism na to, ini-stimulate niya yung bone marrow. Magpo-produce si bone marrow ng massive amount of stem cell. Pag massive or masyado ng madami yung stem cell sa bone marrow, mag-i-spill over yan papunta sa circulating blood. Pag nasa circulating blood na sila, pwede na nating i-collect through apheresis. I repeat ha, bibigyan mo ng hematopoietic growth factor, most common GCSF. Given several days before the HPC or the hematopoietic progenitor cell collection. After a few days of giving GCSF, magiging massive yung amount sa bone marrow. So magi-spill over yan papunta sa bloodstream. Tsaka tayo mag-collect. So for the procedure, wala tayong kailangang anesthesia kasi sa traditional na bone marrow harvest, sa hip bone kinukuha yon, di ba? So of course, may surgery yon, may anesthesia. Pero in this type of collection, ginagawa natin to while the donor is awake without anesthesia. So the procedure looks very much like a long platelet donation. So the donor sits in a recliner connected dun sa apheresis machine, and after, pwede na siyang umuwi after the process. Okay? So ano po ba yung mga benefits ng autologous HGF donation? So, by the way, no, saan galing itong mga HGF na to? Galing ito sa mga autologous, okay, donation. So, an autologous donor, yung nagdo-donate ng stem cell para sa own future use. Okay? Often before high-dose chemotherapy using HGF mobilized peripheral blood stem cell, it offers advantages over the bone marrow collection. So, because the collected product contains high concentration of mature cells and prime stem cell, the patient blood count recover faster. Again, they recover faster. Next, also shorter ang period ng cytopenia. Ibig pong sabihin, mabilis yung count na mag-recover. Okay? The dangerous period where the patient has no immune system as well is shortened. Diba? Okay? And then, faster ang recovery means less need for support. Like, for example, RBC and platelet support. Okay? So, decrease ang length ng hospitalization, decrease ang transfusion requirements. Okay? Next, let's talk about the immunoadsorption, okay, or the selective absorption. So, in this procedure, the patient blood is passed through a column, okay, or a filter containing a ligand. So, ano yung ligand? Yung molecule na nag-a-act na parang magnet for a specific target. Okay? A specific substance is bound to an insoluble matrix inside the machine. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga pathogenic substances lang yung matatrap doon sa filter. Okay? Walang replacement na kailangan. So, because the patient's own healthy plasma, protein, and clotting factor pass through the filter and are returned to them, you don't need to use donor plasma or albumin. No? So, ibig sabihin, wala tayong risk ng transfusion-transmitted infection or any allergic reaction to the donor's product. Understood? Okay? So, there are specialized substances, no? Yung tinatawag natin kaninang ligands. For example, staphylococcal protein A. Si staphylococcal protein A is a protein in the cell wall of your Staphylococcus aureus. So it has a massive affinity to the FC portion. FC portion of IgG subclass 1, 2, and 4. And for IgG immune complexes. So, kailan ba natin ito ginagamit? Para matreat yung mga autoimmune diseases kapag ka IgG ang primary problem. Okay? Another ligand would be charcoal. So, charcoal is used to bind and remove bile acids. So, kadalasan po sa mga may liver failure yan. O kaya, cholestasis. Okay? Cholestasis. Polymyxin B, removal naman ng endotoxin, okay, mula sa mga gram-negative bacterial infection, endotoxins. And then another would be the cellulose acetate that is used specifically para sa removal ng granulocytes. Okay? So, Most adsorbent systems are not available in the US. Pero sa ibang bansa, guys, available na yan. Katulad halimbawa sa Japan and Europe. Pero sa United States, wala pa. Okay? So, let's go to photopheresis. So, ang procedure na to, it involves 3-step cycle. Okay? It involves 3-step cycle in the patient blood. Okay? Na step number 1, collection. So, ibig sabihin, yung machine, it uses leukapheresis, okay, to pull out the buffy coat. And then, ire-return yung red cell at plasma sa patient. Pangalawang step, okay, number 1, leukapheresis. Number 2 is the use of photoactivation. So, photoactivation, yung na-collect natin na white cells, minimix natin yan with photosynthesizing agent. Ito po yung example ng photosensitizing agent. That is called your 8-methoxysoralen or your 8-MOP. And then step number 3, you will be doing UVA exposure. So, yung mga cells, i-expose natin yan sa UVA or ultraviolet A light. Okay? The combination ng MOP or 8-MOP at saka ng UVA will cause a chemical reaction that will cross-link the DNA of the leukocyte. Hindi po nila papatayin ang leukocyte, ha? It will trigger only apoptosis. Understood? It will trigger apoptosis. So, FDA approved for treatment to ng cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. Okay? And also used to treat acute chronic graft-versus-host disease, solid organ transplant rejection, and selected immunologically mediated diseases. Understood? Okay? Next, ito yung mga adverse effects ng apheresis. We already mentioned citrate toxicity earlier, right? So, na-observe to during cytopheresis, component collection, kapag nireturn natin yung other blood component at a rapid rate. So, anong nangyayari? Nagkakaroon ng numbness. Kasi hindi natin kayang i-metabolize ng mabilis. No? So, there will be decrease in our ionized. Sa katawan natin to, sa blood na natin to. So, nasobrahan ng citrate. So, anong gagawin ng citrate? Mag-calculate siya ng calcium. So, mababawasan tayo ng calcium sa katawan. That will result to numbness or tingling around the mouth called the paresthesia. So, this is prevented by infusing calcium intravenously while the patient is undergoing therapeutic plasmapheresis or pwede rin via mouth, yung mga calcium supplements. Another adverse effect is vascular access difficulties. So, yung mga ini-insert natin na large intravenous catheter that could lead to bleeding, lung puncture, and infection. So, vasovagal reaction. So, ano ba yung vasovagal episode? May malaise mediated by vagus nerve. So, this leads to vasovagal syncope or fainting. Most common type ng fainting yan. Dahil sa hypovolemia, nag-decrease yung blood pressure natin. Okay? Pwede rin pwede rin ang adverse reaction ng apheresis, may allergic reaction, and even hemolysis. Okay? So, the concentration of most plasma substances is reduced by 50 to 60% after one standard plasmapheresis treatment. Okay? With the rate of return to steady state concentration varying among analytes. Okay? Next, fatalities. So, rare ang fatalities kapag therapeutic apheresis. Okay, rare lang po. Most caused by circulatory or respiratory complications. So, ito yung mga example ng circulatory complication, cardiac arrest or arrhythmia. Sa respiratory complication naman, nagkakaroon ng pulmonary edema or adult respiratory distress syndrome. So again ang FFP recommended lang yan in cases of TTP or HUS. So there is also possibility ng disease transmission, nabanggit na natin to kanina, kung FFP yung gagamitin replacement fluid. So it is best to use other fluids katulad ng NSS, NSA, and PPF. So that would be all for apheresis. May tanong po ba or